You're listening to the Motivated Mindset podcast with Bobby Stein.
Hello, my name is Bobby Stein, your host of the Motivated Mindset podcast, where I share candid conversations with extraordinary folks from all walks of life to discover just what motivates their mindset. Welcome in and thanks for listening. Hi there, and thank you for finding your way into another episode of the Motivated Mindset podcast. Episode number 60 to be exact, and today we have a special guest, very special guest, who's a veteran who has found a way to keep his passion alive after his service and duty through woodworking by repurposing old whiskey barrels into the American flag, all while giving back to those who have served our country. He is a woodworking craftsman who's found his mission and purpose for himself and others. Let's listen in and learn what motivates the mindset of the co-founder of Cruz Custom Flags and Wooden States of America, Chris Cruz, and thanks for listening. Chris, are you out there, buddy?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm here.
Welcome to the program. I appreciate you carving, woodworking term here. I appreciate you carving out the time.
Pun intended, absolutely.
Exactly. Well, we really do appreciate want to learn about your story, and I love your name, Chris Cruz. It's like a rock star name or something. It's very cool.
Well, my nickname in the Army was Hollywood. I don't know why, so maybe that's where it came from.
That's exactly where it came from. That's a great nickname, too, Hollywood. I'm going to call you that.
So, that left me a long time ago.
Well, I get to speak to you, Chris. I almost called you Hollywood there, coincidentally, on National Day of the Deployed. And that's celebrated each October 26th of every year, which happens to be today, annually. And this day celebrates and honors the soldiers who are deployed around the globe. I think that's a good sign, no?
Yeah, I think it's serendipitous for sure.
Serendipitous. It's a timely shoe is on the foot, as my grandfather used to say. So, great name too, by the way, Cruz Customs. Did you come up with that all by yourself, or did your bride and better half Amber help you? Was it a joint effort?
No, that was something I've had in my mind a long time ago. I knew I was going to start a business. I've been an entrepreneur in my mind since, I don't know, 7th grade, I think. I owned a small detailing business as a middle schooler, and just always had a knack for entrepreneurship. And I kind of like the name Cruz Customs, and it kind of pays homage to my dad, who's not my biological father. I was actually adopted by him when I was in 5th grade, and he's a Vietnam veteran as well. And I take pride in that name because he wanted me when my biological father didn't. So I want to, obviously spread that name. And there aren't many boys in that family, so I'm one of few to bring on the Cruz name. So that's a little more in depth as to why I wanted to call the business Cruz Customs. Not that I have a big ego or anything, and I love my name that much. It's more of a legacy thing than anything.
So you're kind of carrying a torch. That's awesome.
Yep.
So 7th grade, you had this entrepreneurial bent or spirit. Were you detailing automobiles back then,
Yeah, detailing automobiles, and learned early on. Any profits I made, I would buy a shop vac, and then I would just keep reinvesting in the business. And actually won best business card in an entrepreneurship symposium that our school went to. And it's always been in the back of my mind to run my own business. So I don't know. I think it's just the hustle in me. I don't know.
Well, you did the business card. What did you? Was it a design? So you were charged with designing in a competition a business card, and you came up with the best graphics or slogan, or how did that work?
I assume it's been a long time ago. I just remember winning best business card. They asked us to bring business cards, and I guess they liked the design of mine out of all of them that turned them in, I think. So, as a car detailer, you have to kind of stand out. So
yeah. Very cool. Very cool. I love that. Kids today should take a page out of your book, right? I mean, when I was growing up, if you wanted, the next pair of cool sneakers or something, you were cutting lawns or raking leaves or shoveling snow or, doing something like that. And so that lends itself to that type of spirit as well. I appreciate that. So you guys are from Louisville, Kentucky, right? Home of the Slugger?
Yep, home of the slugger, home of bourbon, home of basketball, horse racing.
Yeah,
So yeah,
buddy.
you learn to love a little bourbon, basketball, and horse racing when you move here.
Well, you have a saying, right? It says glory lovin' meets bourbon lovin'.
Yep.
You have a cigar with your bourbon? How do you like your bourbon? Just neat, or how do you like it?
It kind of all depends on my mood. Here lately, I've been, with one cube. Some days I'll like it neat as it's starting to get cooler here. I'll probably move over to drinking it neat. I kind of just mix it up. That's a beautiful thing about bourbon because the different ways you drink it can accentuate different flavors and stuff. So
Yeah, definitely. And then the nuances too. I've got a coworker of mine who's a bourbon aficionado, or he's just so into the different the pairings and the smoky, the woody, the this, the that. It's an art form almost. And yeah, I don't get
yeah,
that way. I don't drink too much of the dark stuff. It just doesn't agree with me. Like I like the clear stuff. Like I'll have a vodka martini or something. But back when I was younger, I would drink the bourbon, and yeah, it's a wonderful treat. Where do you where do you get the when you get these barrels to repurpose for the flags, which we're going to get into? How do you have a constant supply of them? Are they one and done when they're making the bourbon? How's that work?
So interesting thing about bourbon barrels and the rule of bourbon, it can only be used in a new white oak barrel. So or vessel. In the case of barrels are the easiest. So when bourbon is made, it can only be used once in that barrel. So that barrel goes on to find other life, whether it goes to another spirit maker to age beer or whatever else. So the used barrel market is pretty much just as lucrative as the new barrel market because it has actually more supply chain legs than a new white oak barrel. So after it's used for bourbon, it can only be used once, and then these used barrel cooperages will actually, and a lot of times in barrel cooperages they have a new barrel line and a used barrel
Well,
line. So
let me interrupt you 1 second. What's a cooperage for those that don't know?
that's the place that makes the barrels. So that's what a barrel maker is called, a cooper, and the cooperage is the people that it's a whole art form in itself is creating these barrels. So the used barrel folks, if they have leaks or whatever in the barrel, they'll um, try to repair them, and if they're beyond repair, they'll basically break the barrel down and use parts and pieces. But if they have leakers and stuff like that, and they're beyond repair, they'll sell them to makers and people like me, and that's how I get them. And I've been using the same supplier since day one. I actually traded a flag for more barrel staves when we started. We really bootstrapped this business when we got started.
Bartered it,
My
yeah.
wi- yeah, my wife and I said, We're not going to put any of our own money into this business and see where it takes us, and run it that way and as lean and mean as possible." And it's kind of paid off. So
Going to live or die on its own merit, right? It's sink or swim.
absolutely, we didn't have any investors or anything like that when we got started. It was just weekends because I had a full time job when we started. I was an environmental health safety professional for 15 years since I got out of the military,
Hmm.
and I did this in the weekends and nights, and it was more of a passion project that started in my garage in 2017.
But it consumed you during the weekends and stuff. So at that point, like you take me back when you were in seventh grade, and you always knew you had this entrepreneurial spirit or this bent about you. As you're working your day job, is it consuming your mindset? I mean, because I think after 15 years, Chris, you probably have it. Your duties and stuff are kind of on autopilot, or maybe not. But so were you like thinking about, okay, here's what I'm going to do this weekend and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, a little bit. I just knew that woodworking was therapeutic for me. So the first flag I made was the one in my house. We wanted something in our home that represented my military service and my wife's Kentucky roots. So we landed on an American flag. And um, after that, I made one for my father and father-in-law. They're both veterans, so I wanted to make them something unique for Christmas. And when I saw their reaction at Christmas, I was like, yeah, we got a killer product, and we have a a story behind it with the new purpose and the whole um, therapeutic point. And I was like, I can help people that are even worse off than I am from a PTSD and anxiety standpoint, because I knew how it how therapeutic it was for me. So I wanted to share that with others. So I didn't have any intentions of doing this full time. It was more of wanting to give back. And
Interesting.
um, so to answer your question, during the day, I mean, my mind never stops. It's usually um, ideas will pop up and I'll write them down or whatever. But um, it never really took over my day job a whole lot. I was just, you know, we weren't that busy at the beginning, so I just knew I had to put people in place. So I hired a few people along the way to take care of some of the duties that I had for my, during my day job and stuff.
Cool. Now, you were a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne Division, right, over in Operation Iraqi Freedom?
Yes, sir.
And you transitioned out of that into the job you just mentioned, or how? Well, let me back up. When you were involved, how long were you in the service for?
When I was in the military, I served from 2002 to 2006. So, 4 years active duty. I did 1 year National Guard also. So I transitioned and moved to North Carolina, or from North Carolina to Louisville, Kentucky.
I gotcha. And when you got out of the service, was there what's that like when you go from such a regimented lifestyle, one that's kind of routine and purpose driven, to finding yourself in civilian life? How did that transition go for you?
At the beginning, it was fairly easy for me because the military, you just, especially being deployed and as fast as my career, short career went in the military, we were always busy. So when I got a regular job, I'm like, well, this is easy. We're not getting shot at. We're not training all the time. But but I was focused on two things that I think a lot of people shouldn't be focused on. Like I was really just trying to move up the corporate ladder and trying to make rank like I did in the military, um and really was never fulfilled like I was in the military. You don't realize that you're serving something much greater until several years later after you get out of the military, I think. I mean, you get out and you don't even want to tell people that you served. It's kind of weird. Like you don't want to wear anything army related. But the older you get and the more you realize what you did was, serving something greater than yourself, you miss that. And that's another reason I wanted to start the business, because I wanted to create a place of work that created the things that veterans miss, and there's a couple of them. It's camaraderie that we had in the military, and it's that sense of purpose, and like I mentioned, serving something greater than yourself. So I want to create that environment for people because I knew I wasn't the only one that was missing that.
Sure, sure. You have a quote which is fitting and kind of dovetails right into. There's another pun, by the way. Dovetails. It's fitting. It goes like this. You say, being able to serve something greater than yourself is what you want to pass along to your children. And I think that's a very cool legacy that you're forging. And for other vets that have gone through the same thing, that camaraderie and purpose thing. So you kind of fill that void. And it's interesting, like you say, I think many of us, myself included, you get that mindset, Chris, where you just, the corporate ladder, or, going up the rank, and you realize that in the midst of it, some people never realize it, but I think many do, that it's an empty, it's a void, it's a void in and of itself. So when you got out of the service, you were you were still doing that power, that moving up the ladder, but you realized that it just wasn't paying dividends mentally and emotionally, right? Spiritually, it wasn't cutting it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you, you do all the things that society tells you to do, and honestly, we had a young family. I was just trying to provide for my family the best I knew how. Not even thinking about myself. It was always, how do I help my family? How do I do the things that society, you hear in society that they tell you to do. Get all the get all the degrees, get all the certifications, be all that you can be
Yeah, 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 right.
outside of the army, and you do miss that. You miss that sense of you know is what I'm doing making a difference? And I think a lot of people realize that their jobs may or may not have that. So um, So the beautiful thing is when I was working my day job, I was providing for my family, and at the same time I was making a difference by starting this business. So um, I just am blessed that I get to do it full time now.
Yeah, you're very fortunate and blessed indeed. That is it. When you're doing something you love, you'll never work a day in your life, right? But I mean, it's not to say it's without its tenuous moments, right? I mean, there's payroll you have to make, there's decisions you have to make, there's suppliers, there's clients and orders to fulfill, and billing and admin and all that stuff.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
I find there's always things with work that you love and you don't love, and I think they end up balancing out, and you have to do the things that aren't as interesting, like you mentioned, payroll and things like that. But at the same time, it's you have the factors of you know the things you can't control, like the economy right now. It's people are more worried about buying gas and groceries. I can tell you our sales are less than they were in the middle of the pandemic. So it's yeah, these are trying times for small business owners, and I don't think the media or anyone talks about it enough. That's all you heard during the pandemic because I think that's what it was gloom and doom. But I would say if you'd ask any small business owner, they would say it's more difficult now than it was in the middle of the pandemic, unless you were a restaurant or something.
sure, service industry of that nature. My day job at present, we're in construction and small business, and we do a lot of subcontracting in the drywall fields and the metal framing and the stucco and things of that nature. And it's tenuous. Fuel costs went up, like you said, absorbently. Diesel, everything, they just went up exorbitantly. And it was unfortunate, but fortunate for us with that storm I had mentioned to you prior to the interview, Hurricane Ian, that blew through 3 weeks ago. That now there's all this, hurry up and get it fixed. So we've got that bridge. But folks like yourself who really hang your hat on a sundry item, it's a gift, it's a tool. It's not really a necessity. It's not food or fuel. That's going to take a ding when things go south a little bit. Interesting. You say you were busier during the pandemic. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was very interesting. And we created some flags and were able to give it back during the pandemic. We created a heartbeat flag, so we put the heartbeat through one of the stripes, and we donated all the profits from that flag to the frontline workers. And that's another thing about our business. We're able to give back and help the community. So um, we actually sold 5,000 of those flags in the middle of the pandemic, and we are able to donate um, $35,000 to two different hospitals, a total of $70,000 in the middle of the pandemic to directly to the frontline workers here in Louisville. So, um,
Very gratifying, I'm sure.
oh, it was, yeah, because one of the hospitals my wife works at. So she said we're going to be working long hours, and they were, and no one really knew what to expect. So, we wanted to be able to, feed them and give them, some sort of morale boost, and
Wow.
um, we were able to do that to two major hospitals here in Louisville, and make a difference. And at the same time, it helped our business do well too.
It's a win-win-win, really. I mean,
Yep. I call it the trifecta since we're here in Louisville. And people were buying gifts for line workers. They didn't know what to do for them. Like they knew that they were in the middle of the junk, but they didn't know what to do for them. So they bought them one of these flags, and then they were supporting a veteran-owned small business that was trying to survive. And then on top of that, the profits from that flag went to frontline workers as well. So it was truly a trifecta.
well, look at you're using puns yourself now, brother. You're up there by the Derby, right? The Kentucky Derby, and you're talking trifectas in terms of win-win-win. Look at we got three
Yeah.
going. Okay, 2-1. I've got you 2-1 in the pun department.
Yeah,
So
we'll keep track now.
I am. I got a little. I got my notebook out. I got my notebook. So I am speaking today with the founder of Cruz Customs, Chris Cruz, and you can follow along with Chris and his awesome company on Instagram at Cruz Custom Flags over at the LinkedIn platform and their website, cruzcustomflags.com. Give them a follow and check out what goes on with the day-to-day. Pay them a visit on the website and see what all products are available. You'll be glad you did. I went over there myself and I just perusing, and I like that notch hat, classic hat myself. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting hat. The founder of Notch is actually a veteran as well. So um, and the patch that is on it is made out of a bourbon barrel. So it's I call it the world's only bourbon barrel American flag patch. Uh, so it's two veteran-owned businesses kind of collaborating on a cool product.
That is way cool. I had a good fortune of speaking to Elle Ruger. She's the founder of Soldier Socks not long ago on the podcast. And she's given back similar fashion, and just the gratification of that. And she's doing, she's like yourself, following her passion. And there's the day-to-day trials and tribulations, but getting through it all and making a difference. You guys are. So your mission is to give back a part of everything you do while serving the community. And although it may no longer require combat boots, you guys remain passionate about continuing to make your home a better place, our home a better place, in your own backyard of Louisville, Kentucky. So you guys partner, you mentioned, a couple, with the hospital, Norton's Children's Hospital Cancer Institute, for the young adults and adolescent art therapy classes, which is cool. And you've raised, as you mentioned, $70,000 for medical frontline heroes at Norton Healthcare. And the pandemic, of course, the profits went America with one heartbeat flag. You guys are on Fox and Friends. You're all big time and everybody. Look at you guys go.
Yeah, and we give back to USA Cares. That's a nonprofit that helps post 9/11 veterans in crisis too.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually on Fox News with them last Memorial Day. And a couple of years ago, President Trump's last term, we were invited to the White House, but weren't able to go as part of their Made in America
Get out.
um, campaign, or Made in America showcase, basically. So what that entailed is the president's staff chose a business from all 50 states. We were selected to represent Kentucky, and the day before we were to leave, President Trump got COVID and the event got canceled. But we made him a flag, and his staff says that he got it, and and
That is cool.
yeah, and
Congratulations on that. I'll tell you what, man, there's a lot of solid businesses in the state, not to mention the city of Louisville, Kentucky, but the state. And then to go ahead and be one of 50, that's
yeah, I
big
guarantee
doings.
we were the smallest one
That's
that was
okay.
invited.
You know what? That's all right, man. It's not the size of the dog in the fight, dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. I've been told.
That's right.
That is right, brother. So these are one-off, right? Handcrafted pieces of art. Tell me about the process of constructing a flag out of a bourbon cask. I mean, do you have to strip them down? Do you just buy the whole keg and then it comes and you disassemble it before you reassemble it? How's it work?
Yeah, so we get them two different ways. We either get whole barrels or we get pallets of staves. That's the individual pieces that make up the barrel. But every stripe has at least been cut 3 times, sanded twice, and if it has color, it's been hand stained. So it's not like we're getting wood from Lowe's or Home Depot or anywhere. We're getting pieces that have to be touched at least 4 or 5 times before they even get put together. Um, because we're repurposing something that's old, and um, a lot of people don't know white oak is probably the least forgiving wood to work with. We're not working with pine, so it's a very hard wood, and not to mention if it's been aging, you know, bourbon from 2 to 20 years. That's another kind of metaphor between veterans is, we serve from 2 to 20 years, 30 years, and we get beat up and banged up along the way, and then we turn those barrels into works of art, just like we help the veterans. So yeah, man, it's a labor of love, and it's cool to take something so nasty and dirty and turn it into something beautiful. And you get that character and history, and not no one is just alike. So it's not like we're using raw wood. I mean, you can still see pieces of cedar where the barrel may have leaked. Sometimes you can see stamps where the
Yeah.
distillery may have stamped it. It's just everything. You can see the rust of the band in some cases on the piece. So uh, it's a little bit of woodworking and a little bit of art, because we actually, what we call, mock up the flag. We take the stripes and pieces and parts and kind of dry fit them together to make sure that when we put them together, there's not too much of the dark character or the character of the wood in one area. We kind of spread it out so to make it look and fit and feel like a work of art. So, and the beautiful thing about having combat vets make them is they're going to take pride in making the American flag because we wore that on our sleeve every day. So,
Sure. What a story. What a cool story. I mean, the boards aren't straight. I love the fact that there's nuances and subtleties and characteristic scars, in the material, and then the folks that are manufacturing them, that they are one off. They're being handled 4 or 5, maybe more times, and the characteristics of them are truly unique. So, folks, if you have an opportunity to get over to the website, cruisecustomsflags.com. You've got to check this out. I mean, and I love the website, by the way, Chris. I mean, it's really rustic looking. It's cozy, and it's personal. It's charming. I love it, man. Good job by you.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, you learn a lot as a business owner. You're learning to be a box designer, an HR manager. So you do it all. You're the jack of all trades. When you work for big companies, you have people to do all those things, and
No, you got to
you
wear a lot of hats. You got to wear a lot of the same notch hat, right?
yeah, a lot of not chats for
Yeah,
sure. But
buddy.
no, I appreciate the comment because I didn't know much about websites and went back and forth with the company, and we try to make the best we can be, and we haven't talked much about the sister brand either. I bought that business.
Yeah, I was wondering where it came from because I saw that it was. I saw it's Woodenworks. What's the name again? The Woodworks.
Wooden States of
The
America.
Wooden States of America. I was going back and I saw another individual doing some blog posts, etc. And then I saw by where you have it. Tell me about the transition. Tell me about that product because I don't understand how you can make magnetic wood.
Yeah, so I bought that business in the middle of the pandemic from a fellow maker here in Louisville, Kentucky, Ben Arrow. It was a Kickstarter project, and that's how he started that business. And we would go to shows, similar shows together, or I would see him at shows. And I followed him on Kickstarter is how I found his business. Um, and people were always carrying these boxes around, and they were cool. And I was like, man, what are they? I'm talking to everybody at these shows. At least had one state. So um, I told him jokingly one time, I said, I need to buy your business. And well, the pandemic hit, and that's all he did was shows.
All his eggs were in that
And
basket. Yeah.
yeah, all his eggs were in the show basket, and he was looking to make a change anyway.
Wow.
And
Timely. Yeah.
it was very timely, and it actually helped us survive, the initial parts of the pandemic to give us another product to work on. So, what the Wooden States of America is exactly that. It's wooden magnetic key holders of all 50 states, and we actually have keychains and wooden stickers on the website now as well. But
Yeah.
what
So
we do is we embed 4 super strong rare earth magnets in the back, and you're able to throw your keys up on your state. And in the case of me and my wife, I'm from Mississippi originally, and she's from Kentucky, so I hang my keys on Mississippi. She hangs hers on Kentucky, and it's a great housewarming gift. It's a definitely a good closing gift for realtors. I will share with the audiences, we're getting into the wholesale side of things now, and we're able to do corporate gifting and things like that. So the Wooden States of America is great for corporate gifts and something unique.
I'd really like it for the as warming gifts. For the real estate industry, realtors, they close their
Yeah,
deal, and they typically they'll go with a bouquet of flowers or something along those lines or whatever. But yeah, to bring them something that's a keychain, and I like the way you guys split up your states and make it personal. So those I saw them. I saw the Florida one, right? Naturally, because I'm there, and I saw how they were sticking on. And I'm looking for the brads and the nails to be where where do you get these magnets to embed? I mean, how do you do that?
yeah, we just buy super strong rare earth magnets and glue them in the back. It's a pretty cool process. We put a bunch of magnets in. It's 4 per state, so we just we
I'm a simple guy. I mean, but I should have
well,
realized
you
it.
you you're not. I mean, we make a magnetic bottle opener out of a bourbon barrel
I
stave, and when we
saw
do
that. I
shows,
saw that.
people are amazed by magnets. I don't know, like it's just they'll sit there and play with the keychains and bottle caps all day long.
Well, I'm
So,
going for the. I'm going for that. By the way, the before this episode goes to market, I will be in for the bottle cap, the magnetic thing, because we have a lanai with a little baby refrigerator out there, which houses our beers, and I saw that and it caught my eye. That along with a notch hat. So
yep. You know what I tell people about that? I tell people, I said, you can either keep track of what you're drinking, or you can just get really drunk and not have to clean it off. So it's one of the
it's
two.
your choice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We've got one by our pool too. I'm still. I mean, we make a lot of them, and I'm still amused every time when I pop a top. So
You're simple like me, right?
yeah, simple. Hey, sometimes we got to be.
Absolutely. Well, I love all the opportunity. And as you go, you mentioned earlier, Chris, that, as you're driving along or you're working and you're during the course of your day, ideas bubble up and you write them all down. I mean, I think that this is just the tiger by the tail, especially the way everything kind of, once again, to use the word, dovetails back into your mission, giving back. And so for everything that you sell, it's going to be a blessing to the community and to the veterans who are manufacturing these hand crafted pieces of art, these one-off pieces of art. It's so cool, man. So proud of you, really.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, man. We just wanted to do things the right way, and I think as society comes, handcrafted gifts are they're not as common anymore. We
They're
went
not.
to a wholesale show, and not very many products were even made in America anymore. So we want to get back into that where I think people will appreciate handcrafted, made in America products probably more now than ever after the pandemic and the supply chain crisis.
Supply chain,
And
big. Yeah, that definitely. I think if it didn't, it should wake people up for sure.
yeah, and I say this all the time. There's nothing more American than a combat veteran, handcrafted flag out of what used to hold America's spirit. Like bourbon is America's spirit by law. So, um,
What's
we're
your
making it out of that wood.
what's your bourbon go to favorite of choice?
I, I don't have a one favorite. Like I said, it's even it changes with how I drink it. But
Sure.
I'll name off a couple. Since we're talking, that's the first step in the process is you got to empty the barrel. So we always have to talk about bourbon. I would say Elijah Craig Barrel Proof is one in my top five. Woodford Double Oak. It's a That's something that everyone is on the shelves pretty regularly.
That's what my coworker likes. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Four Roses Single Barrel's good. And of course, the hard to get stuff like Weller, it's always good. I think it just tastes better because you can't get it.
What's
I
that?
think.
What's that bourbon that? Yeah. Anytime it's rare, right? It just seems to taste better. But what's that one that's older than the United States? It was made in 1773. Do you know what bourbon that is? I forget what the name of it is.
1792? No,
I don't know. Joe Rogan was sipping on it, and
I don't know.
yeah, I
I'll have
thought
to look that one up.
me too. It was the company was founded in 1773, and it was a bourbon company, and so it was older than the Constitution. And I thought that might be intriguing for you to take a Google
Yeah,
search too.
I'll check out Joe Rogan and look. I mean, I'm a bourbon. I'm learning to like a lot of bourbon and learning to collect a little bit. It's kind of going back to my baseball and football card collecting days. So
Well, speaking of
I
football,
start
you
to.
were a collegiate athlete, no?
Yeah, I played a couple of years, and then before joining the army, yep, I
What position?
played a linebacker.
Best position. Shoot the A
Yep,
gap, ring some bells. Yeah.
yep. I had the fantastic privilege of playing with Dion Branch and Javon Walker at Jones County Junior College. Yeah,
Look at you. All
yep.
NFL, you rubbing elbows with the big leagues. I
Well,
like that.
they had to have somebody. They had to have a tackling dummy and somebody to go up against. So there were a few of us there, and then there were several NFL athletes on the team. So
Excellent, man. Ford or Chevy?
I'm a Ford guy. I always have. I like the aesthetic better. I just like the interior look and feel. So
Agreed.
I'm on my third truck now. So
How many miles you put on them?
I've got 7,000 on it now.
How about your one you traded in? What was it, 150,
I
250?
still I still have it. I still have my other truck. It's got about 170,000.
Yeah, they run forever if you take care of change your oil and everything. Coke or Pepsi?
Oh, Coke.
Yeah, I knew that. That was a no-brainer. iPhone or Android?
I'm an iPhone. I'm a simple guy. I don't want to learn anything new.
Amen. on that note, well, I'll tell you, man, I'm so excited for the Wooden States of America. What a cool sideline venture that you got into, jumped in with both feet. Amber, what is her role in the company? What does Amber do and your kids? What they get involved in the day to day? How's that work? I know you said she works at the
Yeah, I
hospital.
mean, yeah, they're involved when we get really busy or when they need money. I'll have side work for them to do. So the kids, they'll do that. But um, my wife, ultimately, she gets involved when we get really busy as well. But the beautiful thing that we always say is she runs the cruise ship. So she takes care of the house and she takes care of all the, you know, picking up the kids and making sure that they're squared away for sports. You know, they're teenagers and we're in the middle of volleyball and basketball. So she makes sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed when it comes to the kids to allow me to live my dream um and try to grow this business. So uh but she does handle she is like my sounding board and my when I
Partner in
get
crime. Yeah.
partner in crime, like when I'd have to make tough decisions or get frustrated,
Yeah.
she kind of reels me in. So
Balances you to the other end.
yeah, she balances me after, I have to, like I said, when I have to make some tough decisions or I have an idea and she grounds me
She
a
poo
lot.
poos it, or she's your sounding board. Well,
Yeah,
essentially, she's the glue, right, that holds everything together.
absolutely. And I will say, like if when we get real busy, everyone's involved. So it's
Yeah.
we know we had when we did the heartbeat thing, we were on Fox News. We had one of those flags made. That's it. Like we made it on national news after having just one made, and I brought in everybody that had anything to do with our business, whether they were a supplier of wood, whether they were um, interested in working with us or whatever. We brought everybody in, and I bought some pizza and said, "Hey, well, how are we going to make all these flags?" And within 2 months, we made them all. So it definitely tested our metal and grit to see if we could really handle that, and we have a great team around us. So that when we have to, everyone jumps in, and otherwise we have a solid crew here that handles the day to day. So sometimes we'll have to call in a pinch hitter or bring somebody out of the bullpen, but most of the time it's a core group here.
You got any horses in the World Series? Any dogs in the fight?
I'm not much of a baseball guy, man.
Well,
Being a football guy from the side.
you just used the bullpen reference and something else. I had to go with the flow, man. You're messing up my interviewing
Yeah,
skills. Come on, I'm trying hard here.
yeah, no, I'm not a baseball guy. I don't have a dog in that fight.
Gotcha. How about
I
you said that Amber holds the cruise ship together. You guys ever go on a cruise?
That's a funny thing. She don't want to go, and I'm wanting to go. So the cruises have never been on a cruise, and I think it's
High
a
time you get.
travesty.
It is a travesty. Why does she not want to go on a cruise?
I don't think she likes the idea of not being able to get off the boat. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think it's that. I don't know.
We were just dead set against cruising. We live in an over 55 community because I'm over 55, and everybody around here goes cruises. Like they're diamond members of Carnival or the celebrities and all. They all go cruising. We're like, we hate cruising. What if we run into people we don't like and we got to spend 7 days on locked on board on this boat and I'll be in a cabin, and we just poo pooed the whole thing. Well, so one thing led to another. I'm turning 60 years old in December, and my wife says, let's look into it. So she looked into it, and we're going on our very first cruise. Long story short, and it's with Virgin Voyages. So Richard Branson, and
Hmm.
he started. It's an adults only, so that you got to be 18 or older to get on it. And it's a different concept. It's a different restaurant and everything. It's set up, laid out differently. So we're gonna try and venture it. So, but for me to go on a cruise, I don't know, man. I was kind of like your wife, and for you, it's a little bit of a travesty. But you have to get on. I'll let you know how we make out. So,
Yeah.
give you the
When
report.
are you going?
December 9th.
December 9th. That's perfect time to get away. Start to get cold around then. So
Yeah,
where you
absolutely.
guys going? The Caribbean?
Yeah, we're going to the Dominican, and we swear we're not going to get off the boat. It stops in Bimini in the Bahamas, for like a little day trip. They got their own resort, Branson does with Virgin, and then it continues on to the Dominican where you get off. But I'm always nervous, Chris. You get off and you're doing 4-wheel excursion, or you're parasailing or doing something wacky, and then like you're in a third world country, and like. Like the chain snaps on the ride, and you can't make it back to the boat, and then you're stuck. See, my mind, you have ideas that pop up during the course of the day. My mind goes through these kind of consequential things.
Uh,
So,
mm, you got you. Well, the older you get, the more you have to live. Just
right.
go do it.
I'm in the fourth. To sum up with your football, interest. I'm in the fourth quarter. If life was a football game, right? So,
Well, hold up the fours and give it all you got.
amen,
So
amen.
jump in with both feet.
Outstanding, I certainly will. And you continue the good fight and the good work, Chris. We've been visiting with Chris Cruz from CruzCustomFlags.com and Wooden States of America, and learning what motivates his mindset. And it has been my pleasure indeed. Be sure to give him a follow on all the socials and visit him on his website, see their offerings. They make great gifts for clients. If you're a realtor, a home warming gift, and family. So be sure to check them out at CruzCustoms.com, over at thewoodenstates.com. And Chris, thank you so much today for being my guest and sharing your awesome story. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks again. It's been an honor and a privilege for sure.
Well, until next time, for Chris Cruz, I'm your host, Bobby Stein, saying thanks as always for listening, and please take good care.
You've been listening to another episode of the Motivated Mindset podcast with your host, Bobby Stein. Thank you for tuning in. You've been listening to another episode of the Motivated Mindset podcast with your host, Bobby Stein. Thank you for tuning in.